So wiring's complete. Next step, I noticed the gate is opening at 5 PSI, which is less than I want to start with. I'd like to get it to around 12 and break it in under that. So to do that, I need to activate the boost controller. Fun fact, the guy said he made 400 horsepower, and we have a dyno video apparently of him making 400 horsepower in the car. Okay, no big deal. The boost controller pin at B21, I believe it is, which is the evap controller, that doesn't have a pin in it. So I'm not trying to call the guy a liar, but how are you controlling boost if it's not pinned? So I ordered a pin set because I don't have a spare. I have it, I don't know where it went. I have pins on the way. I'm impatient, so I'm gonna pull one out of the spare harness I have. I can always put it back when I get my pins. Yeah, so I'm gonna put the pin in, and I have an oscilloscope in the car for work. I'm gonna hook up the boost controller and watch it on the oscope and see if I can get a reading on it. And once I know we're good on the reading on the test, which I know I can just plug the boost controller in, but I'm gonna use the oscope. So yeah, oscope, boost controller, and then yeah, I'm gonna turn her up just a smidge. All right, so we know we need to pin the ECU so that we can run the boost controller. Now to start, I'm just gonna run some flying wires and test the boost controller, make sure it's working, so I have to hook it all up, you know, all that jazz. But it's got me thinking about what I'm gonna do about the harness. I don't wanna run a secondary harness through the firewall if I can avoid it. So I'm gonna try to use some of the spare wiring that comes with the swap harnesses, as well as the reverse lockout that I'm not using, to try to keep it all in one harness. If it works, great. If not, no big deal. I'll just end up running a harness. But the plan is to try to get it all through the main harness. So I've got this pinned out. I'm gonna go ahead and swap the wire from the main connector into the ECU, and then I'm gonna hook that up to the boost controller as well as to a battery voltage, and I'm going to test to see if the boost controller operates. That's step one. All right, so I've traced the wire to this guy right here, 0.3 ohms. So we know that's our wire, and I've checked the connector, and there's nothing there. So I know it's okay to take out. So I'm gonna go ahead and depin this and get it swapped over to the B connector. Okay, I've got the wire from the spare over to the B21, which is that guy right there. So we're gonna go ahead and hook up the solenoid and see if it operates. All right, so the car is warming up. I basically turned the boost controller on full. So we're gonna go ahead and check to make sure that the actual controller is working. So you can see it's at 36% duty cycle. Let's go ahead and give it power. And you can hear that the controller is now activating. So we know we've got good activation out of the pin. So we've got the boost controller working. We know it activates, and we have the duty cycle set to 35%. Now in the past, this was an issue because I wouldn't know what percent duty cycle equals what boost pressure. You can kind of go off of history, but until you hook it up to the car, you generally don't know. There's a trick you can do by basically applying fixed air pressure at one side of the boost controller, activating it on the bench or how we had it, and then watching the pressure drop. And that's a great way to build a scale for percent duty cycle when you're setting everything up. However, I noticed that as I was goofing around just looking at all the settings in K-Pro, the guy had taken it, as we said before, to a tuner. And he wrote down that 35% equals 7 PSI. Now this is even crazier when you remember that we didn't have a pin in the ECU. The ECU did not have a boost controller pin. So I still don't understand how this is working unless they swap the harness. I generally, I'm so confused. But whatever, we're gonna give 35% duty cycle a try and see what it does. Everything seems to be working. So we'll do a quick little test hit here and kind of go over it. I have it set to fixed duty cycle. I'm not trying any of the crazy stuff right now because I just want to make sure that my setup's working correctly. So